The Nevada Joint Union High School Board is made up of 5 trustees and 1 student. Posted on the district website under Mission and Values is the following: to provide quality educational opportunities to high school students in Western Nevada County. Values include quality teaching and learning, options for students, respect, inclusion, and a healthy and safe environment, to name a few. The district recognizes and supports all students and staff of every race and nationality, every ethnicity and every religion, every gender and gender identity, every sexual orientation, every disability, every age, and every socioeconomic status. In the studio, we have Andrew Klein, who was elected to the board in 2024 and is currently the board president. Andrew's bio states that he has a passion for promoting the trades and the CTE program and helping kids excel at whatever their passions are. His goals for the district include long-term fiscal viability and planning, empowering teachers to create attractive and long-term employment, and expanding the CTE program for more access and more offerings. Andrew recently voted no on the Every Student Belongs resolution. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
When they say may we live in interesting times,
yeah,
this certainly kind of falls under that category, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
You know, what I'd love to do is dig into the background story a little bit. We know what the resolution says. We know how people voted, how the board voted, 3-2, negating or not passing, I should say, the resolution. Tell me, when you were considering how you were going to vote, what kind of research or discussions, or what was your thought process when you were trying to decide how you would vote on this resolution?
Yeah, so if I could go back a little bit farther, we got, there was some word right after the current administration took place that they were going to be looking at the Department of Education federally. So,
right.
And I keep up on as much news as possible, and
that you can take.
That I can take as much as I can take, and so I read up on that a little bit, and there was no movement or anything, and then we got this Dear Colleague letter.
Yeah, February 14th, the famous
February 14th.
Dear Colleague letter, yeah.
Before we even had a secretary, it was an acting secretary that sent it. And so read that, took that with a grain of salt, had some discussions with the superintendent about it, and we're like, well, let's just wait. Let's wait and see what happens. And then we got, April 3rd, I think there was a certification letter, maybe April 4th. And the certification letter was the federal government requesting the state to certify that they are adhering to the federal Department of Education's interpretation of Title VI.
Right.
And so the state, and that came right before our board meeting, about the same time the resolution came. So I heard typically the Wednesday, the week before a meeting, the superintendent and I meet, and we put together the agenda for the meeting. And I have a rule that if a board member requests something to be on the agenda, it won't be unreasonably withheld. Before, there was some verbiage in the handbook and the bylaws about the board president and the superintendent have final say on the agenda. And I was like, I think we should just, if a board member, they're duly elected representatives. I'm sorry. I use my hands a lot.
It's okay. Use them up here.
Okay.
That's okay. We don't want to blow out our viewers' eardrums. So
got it.
I appreciate the timeline, though. This is great.
Yeah. And so we met on Wednesday, and the superintendent said, I hear there's a resolution possibly. And I was like, okay. And I didn't think too much of it, because typically we get everything in well in advance if we're going to add something to the agenda.
Like in a packet, you get all the information together. Right.
Or a board member says, hey, we want to put a resolution together. We want to add this to the agenda. And that kind of gets signaled a lot earlier. We kind of hear about it coming. We can kind of review it, talk about it. For example, I made some changes to the handbook when we started out. And I shot out a copy of what I was thinking to all the board members, just as an info, right, to start, and then the conversation. And then we decided to have 2 board members work on those changes. And we worked on all those changes. We came to a middle ground on them, and then we voted and passed them. This resolution came in an hour before the deadline when we typically post the agenda. I think legally it's 72 hours. We have to post the agenda ahead of time. So I was at an event. I didn't have time to look at it. I said, yep, that's my rule. Like, just put it on the agenda. We'll deal with it. So I saw it when it was when it was publicized and everybody saw it, and I was like, legal hasn't looked at it. I haven't really judged it against the legal documents that we've seen from the Fed and the state. At that point in time, I called Ken Johnson,
the other trustee,
one of the other trustees. Yep, and we don't agree on a lot of stuff.
It's okay.
and I talked to him about it, and because the Brown Act allows you to talk to one other board member about stuff without a quorum.
Right.
So we were talking about it and going over it, and I was like, I just don't feel comfortable with this. I feel like we're going to put a target on our backs for the feds. We don't have any direction from the state. The state hasn't said that they would give us the funds instead of the federal government. The state doesn't seem to be in the place to be able to give those funds that the federal government, we've relied on the federal government from.
Sure.
And so I came to the conclusion that I'm not going to vote for it, and Ken was of the same mind. So I prepared my written comments, and we had the board meeting. We had people talk on the resolution. They wanted it. I understand that.
As far as a public standing up to speak at the board meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Nobody spoke against it. I knew it was going to be a full board, of a full panel of people. So we actually slimmed down the timeline that each person was allowed to talk so we could fit everybody in, because we only have a 20-minute timeline for each topic. So we got everybody's comments in. We had a good amount of emails in support of it. And I still didn't feel comfortable with it. And so when it came to voting for the resolution, I voted no. Ken voted no, and Kelly voted no. And I really, the main reason that I voted no is that I felt like I had a fiduciary duty to the district to make sure that we have long-term fiscal viability. And without that money, there's a lot of things we could go into about what that money will affect.
It's 4% of the total budget, I believe.
Yeah, somewhere, yeah, 4 to 6%, something like that. But it affects more than that too, because we have a JPA, Joint Powers Authorization for food in the district for our lunch program and our breakfast program. And what we did is we do a lot of locally sourced, really healthy food.
Yes.
And
various programs, through Sierra Harvest and other programs, correct.
It's a great program.
Yeah.
I want this JPA to succeed.
Sure.
It gives kids a much better food, and locally, organically raised, a lot of it is. If Nevada County doesn't get that money for the JPA, that money that's allotted for us from the federal government for the lunch program, it could really tank the entire JPA for the entire area, because we're just the high school district. But we're the largest. We have 5 schools.
Right.
There's 8 other districts out there that are all elementary schools. So I feel a responsibility to those districts as well, that we can't put our money in jeopardy. We're jeopardizing not only the high school district and the high school kids, but all the kids that are in school in Western Nevada County.
So was part of your equation witnessing how other executive orders coming from the White House have happened?
Absolutely.
So, am I putting words in your mouth by saying that you were believing, you believe what's coming down from the executive? Because if I read the state's information or documents to districts, it's like they don't have the power to do this. Don't worry, it's a letter. The letter has no enforcement, mandate, and this is not law. We're going to take care of you. So you're basically.
Well, they never said we're going to take care of you. That's an interesting part.
Okay.
They're nowhere in there, and because I would be a lot more comfortable if they said we're going to take care of you.
So if the state were to, anyway, so you're kind of stuck between state mama and feds papa in a sense.
Totally.
Your mama, who do you believe?
And by the way, that's a legal opinion from the state. The federal has already given a legal opinion from the
Then that was just on Friday, I believe,
Yeah.
that the White House released another, I don't know if it was an executive order, but a clarification on the executive order.
Yeah.
On the letter from the Department of Education.
Yeah, they did the executive order on that. The interesting part is that the state gave their opinion that we comply with everything in Title VI. And
that's the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Yep, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. And but then immediately filed a lawsuit along with 18 other states against the Department of Education.
Right.
So
New Hampshire, among others.
Yep.
Right.
So this is going to get litigated.
Sure.
So this is something that I don't want to jump the gun on. I'm not a lawyer. We don't have any lawyers on our board.
Right.
We have counsel that we could reach out to.
Sure.
But we're not litigating this issue. This isn't an issue for us to litigate. This is an issue for the state and the federal governments to issue. Is
this sort of like a wait and see kind of vote on your part? Okay. So it could be that if things become clear, you might feel more comfortable about a resolution such as this or another resolution, who knows, like how it goes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Not all school districts, in fact, I looked at, did a little bit of Googling, and I didn't find any other states or school districts that have implemented a resolution such as this except for Oregon. But where is it coming from that there are people in our district who feel that this resolution, or at least the intent of the resolution, is important and necessary in the high school district? Where is this coming from?
Well, it's, that's a really good question, and that's a question that I've been asking, and that's a question we're going to discuss at the next board meeting. And
that next board meeting is May?
Yes.
Okay.
I forget the
May
exact
12th,
date.
maybe?
It's in my calendar.
Okay. I'll put it in the notes, in the show notes. So I think it's May 12th.
I believe so.
This will be
right.
continued
It's on the Wednesday night closest to that date.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I should have looked that up. So this conversation will continue as far as if this resolution, if the source of this resolution was from the feeling on the part of certain populations or certain people that they don't feel safe, that they don't feel included, all those concepts, then what do we do about it? If not this resolution, what do we do?
And like I said, I think the intent of the resolution is good. I think it is. I don't think it was handled well. And I think that
you felt it was rushed, as I understand your perspective.
I feel like it was moved through without a lot of thought. It needs to be, I believe the intent is there, and I love the intent of it. All of these students belong. They really do, and the entire board unequivocally stands against discrimination and bullying. That goes without question. I got a lot of emails, and most of them reference political reasons why they want this resolution to pass. And I'm an apolitical board member. We don't have an R and a D next to our names when we get elected. And so I really did my absolute best to push aside any bit of political leanings whatsoever and look at the facts of what's going on here. And I think that's what we really need to look at is there the possibility of us losing the finances? Yes. Do all of our board policies, ed code, and everything protect any kind of discrimination and bullying? Yes. Is that being enforced? That's the question I'm going to ask at the board meeting.
And what do you say to the accusation, I guess is a good word, that you and others who voted against the resolution are putting money before values? How do you respond to that?
Well, I responded. I had 3 students actually that emailed me with approximately that. And I wrote them all back a nice long email, and I explained our position. And they all replied back to me, "Thank you, that makes a whole lot more sense. We've only been getting one side of this story." And one of them watched the
deliberation.
The deliberation. And said, "Hey, you know what? We still don't entirely agree with you, but we appreciate your stance on it."
Well, it seems that there are good people who have the best intentions, who mean the best, and
Absolutely.
think that they're doing the best that can possibly happen within the circumstances such as they are. Not that I think that our school district is like Harvard, but if you look at Harvard, the wealthiest school in the country, they will not capitulate to demands on the part of the administration. Maybe they have a bit more buffer than your budget, but my point is that there is a sort of a moral rising of morality and people who are saying, hey, we just can't I guess the word is give in or capitulate. So that's another way of kind of considering this mandate.
And I don't discount what their morality is whatsoever. I don't. I may not agree with it, but I think being a board member, especially at an apolitical board like this, when the governing agencies above us make political moves and political decisions, we need to respond apolitically. We need to respond with what we really believe is in the kids' best interest, in the students' best interest. And we are not a straight democracy. And so we know that there's a lot of people, if we put it to a vote in the county, I don't know where it would end up. But I do know that I won this last election with a pretty good mandate. Kelly won with a good mandate, and Ken won with a mandate in the South County 4 years ago or 3 years ago.
Right.
And so they've elected us to be their representatives, the larger group of people. And we are trying to stand up and make the decision that we think is best for the students while taking in everybody's opinions. And then we're jurists. We're not litigate. We're not litigating things.
You know, so I think that what's interesting is to see what comes out of this. So if this has come from somewhere, and if there is a contingent or a culture, an atmosphere that in which people do not feel safe or included, these are issues that need to be addressed and considered regardless of the resolution. Mm-hmm. Do you have plans what are your plans to take a look at that?
Yeah, well, one of the beauties of our country is that we have a lot of mechanisms to make sure that a minority is not oppressed, right? So I 100% believe in the rule of law, and I believe that at the end of the day, after this is all litigated, that it will be litigated fairly, and that I think that it will protect it'll protect the marginalized, it'll protect those that feel like they don't have a voice. And I fully appreciate people standing up and giving their voice. I do. I love hearing it. I love having those conversations. And those 3 students that reached out to me, I was like, I would love to do a Q&A with you guys. Like, bring your peers together. Let's sit down. Let's talk about this. Yeah. I would love to.
Yeah, good idea.
And if any student feels like they've been bullied, harassed, marginalized, and not taken seriously, my email is Klein@NJHUSD.com. Email me, and we will look into it.
Okay, we'll take you at that. And then perhaps you can come back, and when things become more clear and evolve, because I don't think this is going to go away, do you?
No. It's going to take a few months.
It's going to take some time. I have one more question for you.
Absolutely.
Then I'll release you. Were you surprised at the reaction to the vote? Were you surprised at the student walkout?
No. I was expecting there to be something. Again, I looked over, I also wanted to look at the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. Uh-huh. And so I looked over, and I saw about 300 students walk out. And they're led by the same students that spoke passionately at our board meeting. And honestly, I'm proud of them. The civic engagement that they had, I think they did a fantastic job at it. Nobody got out of control. Nobody broke anything.
Peaceful.
It was peaceful. Mm-hmm. It was a very good display of their civic engagement. Mm-hmm. And I promised one of the kids there when we talked at the board meeting. I was like, I will die on the hill of your individual liberties. I promise that. And they will not be oppressed. They're not looked past. They're not forgotten. They are there. We're simply trying to make the best decision for the district as a whole. And
what an interesting lesson process for young people to be a part of and witness.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Best of luck. We'll look forward to the next board meeting and have more information for our viewers.
Absolutely.
Thanks. You.